Assalamu alaikum, good evening, and welcome to tonight's episode of Talking Point. I'm your host, Syed Neaz Ahmad. In our studios today, we have a lady who was born in Calcutta. Her father was Mayor of Calcutta, Mr. Syed Doja, during 1943-44, good old days of the British Raj. And Calcutta was, for some time, the capital of the Raj in India, at least. The lady went to the very famous Loreto convent in Calcutta. Then she went into teaching. She has been around the world. She has written and edited a lot of books and articles. She came over to Bangladesh in 1981 after the death of her father. In 1983, she married a writer and a historian. The rest, as they say, is history. Welcome to the show, Syeda, Zakia, Ahsan.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
So kind of you that you could make time for NTV.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I know you have been living in London for quite some time, and it's very strange that our paths never crossed. But what a delightful occasion that we discovered you through Syed Ahsan, your illustrious husband.
Thank you so much. You're very kind.
Tell us something about your place of birth, the City of Joy. Incidentally, I was born there too.
Okay, were you? Okay. So yes, I was born in Calcutta and brought up there in a very conservative family in the true sense of the term. But however, my father had a broad vision with his conservatism, which is why he sent me to an Irish convent where I did my schooling and my college. So it was a learning curve to study in a convent and also abide to the rules and values of my conservative parenthood.
Family.
But I managed. And I have great respect for the teachers we had, for the Irish nuns who educated us, and my discipline and my values, which I got from my parents, were maintained in the convent. They were very forthcoming. They celebrated our culture along with theirs. So it was so many years of rich education which we got from those Irish nuns. Yeah. And I think I am partly what I am today because of that education, as well as the values of my parents.
As I said, the good old days, those days, we were all one community.
Yes.
We were, well, sitting here, we can say after so many years that we only wanted freedom from colonial rule.
Yes.
But otherwise, there were no differences. We had lived together, whether they were Hindus, Muslims, and Pathans and Punjabis and the UP Walas and West Bengal, East Bengal, all together. See, we were one. See, and that was the thing. It was the whole place was a melting pot. Yes, but it was the thing that brought us together. That we were all Indians. See.
We were given freedom as girls, but I think the true meaning of freedom is to know what freedom is and to look after it. So our parents gave us limited freedom, but we were able to administer that freedom, keeping in mind our values, our ethics, the remits of Islam, and our background. And we had no problem. So we were very happy young people growing up in a country with so many different communities.
Right.
Because like you said, we believed in communal harmony and togetherness and celebration.
Calcutta was a cosmopolitan
It was a hub of different cultures and communities and art, literature, which we enjoyed as we grew up.
I think, see, the last time I went was long time ago, 1997, see, to Calcutta. And I think that it still retains some of the old world values.
It does. And it has changed structurally, but culturally it has even become even richer now. And I visit Calcutta almost every year.
You're so lucky.
And it's always lovely because even the smell, the plants, the grass, everything reminds me of one particular incident, and I feel like staying there forever. But I know I have to come back.
When you came back to, when you came to Dhaka, you see, you started teaching at the very famous Scholastica.
Yes. Actually, I came to Calcutta at the demise of my mother, and I was totally shattered. And because I looked after her in the last years of her life, and I was very close to her. So to keep myself engaged, I started teaching, and I taught girls who sat for the overseas GCSE exams, and it was a very good experience for me.
Yes.
Because
they are called O-levels overseas.
they were called O-levels, and they appeared as overseas students, and I enjoyed teaching them English language and literature because it reminded me of my school and college. And it was a wonderful experience. I'm still in touch with lots of students who are now living in London, who are barristers, doctors, engineers. So it's a different kind of reward when you teach people. It's so forthcoming. It just comes back to you.
True.
So I thoroughly enjoyed that very much.
What a delight. I mean, no wonder they call it noble profession. When you started teaching at Scholastica, you were vice principal, some administrative job, isn't it?
Yes.
And when did you leave Dhaka?
I left Dhaka in 1997 when I came with my husband to London.
And you were still teaching there when you
No,
left?
I had left Scholastica after a few years, and I had joined the International Labour Organization, where I worked as a consultant, visiting villages, interviewing women, working with women, doing little projects for them. And it was the first time I had seen what real poverty is in Bangladesh, because I was so privileged to visit a lot of districts and go into the interiors and meet women, see how they lived, and get their love as well. It was a two-way traffic. We were helping them. They were loving us so much, and they were welcoming us. So this experience has changed my views on women. And I have learned so much about the sufferings of women. You know, when you read something is different, but when you see something happening is different.
Or the victim narrating it to you.
Yes, because I, for example, I saw a lady who had one sari, two saris, and she was in one, and the other one was drying. And she remained in the water for over 2 hours until her other garment dried up. So this was something I couldn't even perceive. And that changed my entire thought process.
When was that?
I worked in ILO from 1990 to 1997 for 7 years. And I would have continued had I not, decided to come here with my husband. So it was very, very enriching. And we were able to help them to a very small extent, but it was a drop in the ocean, and we did what we could.
Right, I see. Would you think, looking back, would you think things have improved for them?
I have not been in touch with lots of villages, although I visit my husband's village every year when I go back there. I think they have improved because there are kindergartens in villages and beauty salons in villages now, so people must be able to afford it. However, I don't think there is no absolute eradication of poverty. There's a lot needs to be done. But people have moved on. The women are far more empowered than they were before. So they've gone forward. They have small businesses. They are independent. They know a little of their rights. They don't know all their rights yet, but they're learning. It's a learning process. And I think if it remains the way it is now, then surely our women will be far more advanced in the coming years.
Would you think that this first is awareness, and people like you have been going around villages and making them aware of their rights and providing them the kind of support that yes, they can do this. But coupled with that is like the garment industry that needed workers, see, and female workers were eager to learn and do the job, maybe at a slightly lower rate than men, because everywhere men are paid more, even in this country. See. Another thing was that people were going out to other countries to work, you see, even unskilled labor mostly. And they've been remitting money back home. And this has a domino effect on the economy of the villages, particularly from where they came, because they'll buy things from the shop, and the shopkeeper has to get more things. So the money is rolling. This has had an effect, or do you think that should have had a very good effect, but do you think that there is still something lacking, there is a demand for more empowerment, more
yes,
education?
I think we have everything in writing about women's rights, and a lot of agencies are doing a lot of work. Even the government is trying to encourage more women into work, and the garments sector is one of the biggest signs of women's empowerment.
Yeah.
However, a lot needs to be done at the moment, because we need to ensure their rights, the working conditions,
Yeah.
and somebody has to be accountable for what they get at their workplace. I think a lot needs to be done even now.
Yep, a lot needs to be done about the housing also.
Housing, their kids.
Who looks after them?
Who looks after them? They don't have creche facilities. Some garments factories do not pay the wages on time.
Right.
A lot of them do. So these are little gaps that need to be looked into.
Right.
But having said that, I still think that women have been hugely empowered in the last 2 decades, and they've come forward. They know what is independence. For example, there is a dearth of domestic help now in Bangladesh,
Sure.
which is a tragedy for housewife, but it's a victory for our nation.
Yes.
Because women are not working so much in households. And even if they're working part-time, they know their rights, they know their wages.
They give you time to 2 hours here and 2 hours there.
Yes, so it is a thing to rejoice. They've come forward, and we just have to pray that this goes on.
But if this goes on, then they will not be available for housework.
We learn to do it ourselves, like we do it here.
But the Begum Sahib will not be happy. It will not be a very happy domestic life then.
I'm sure it will. People will get used to it.
It will take time.
It will take time, but there has to be a beginning. If there is no beginning, it can't happen.
Right. So we'll have to change our eating habits. We'll have to change our lifestyle.
And also our mindset.
Yes,
that we have
mindset is very important.
Yeah, mindset is the most important, because why should, if you're a Muslim, if you believe in Islam, you do everything yourself, and everybody is equal. So nobody needs to serve you. So perhaps that can help even.
Well, what we say and what we do, are 2 different things, you see, and what we desire again, you see.
Yes.
And that's another tragedy, that what we desire is never achievable, see. You mentioned something. Okay. What you said about that in remote villages we have beauty salons and
kindergarten schools,
you see.
Yes.
And most of these kindergarten schools, the emphasis of education is in English language, see. And I have heard from so many people, politicians and social workers and all that, that it is not something good, because we are sending our children to school and they're not learning the language, see. But then again, we went to some of the schools and we learned English, and we did not forget our language. We were not drawn between these 2 things, you see. We thought that this is part of the same system, you see. We learn English and we learn
exactly.
Bengali.
Because I went to an English medium school, but I learned Hindi and I learned Bengali side by side in India. And these kids who go to kindergartens in the villages, they learn Bengali alongside, and after they finish their kindergarten, they go to Bengali medium schools. Right. So perhaps going to kindergarten in the early years can give you a very proper concept of a little bit of English language, perhaps. Yes, so I think it's beneficial, and I don't think if parents can afford it, it's a very negative thing.
And bilingualism is not a bad thing in today's world.
No, in psychology they say that if the child knows more than 1 language, the brain develops faster. So there's nothing wrong with that, I think.
Well, let's hope that they do. We'll be back after this short break. Don't go away. Thank you.